Hey everybody, welcome back to We Are Podcast. Today's episode is I Hate Being Sober, Season 1, Episode 10, The Life of the Wild Man, known as Patrick Stevens. That's right, I'm going to sit down with my friend Patrick Stevens and talk about his crazy careers, whether that be with stunt motorcycle riding, his career in comedy, or even his career in porn. We're going to sit down and we're going to have a great conversation. I'm so happy you're here to listen to it. If this is your first time checking out We Are Podcast, please head on over to your favorite podcast app, Spotify, Stitcher, Podbean, or iTunes, and give us a like. And if you get a chance, head on over to our social media. All links can be found in the description. And with that, on to the podcast.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to
I Hate Being Sober!
And now our host, Duck!
Hey everybody, welcome to I Hate Being Sober. This is Duck, and today I have a very special guest. This guy, he has lived a wild fucking life. He's a wild man, and I'm so excited. I'm sitting in his house right now. It is awesome. Thank you so much. I'm with Mr. Patrick Stevens. Patrick, how are you today?
Doing all right, doing swell.
Fuck yeah, and I'm telling you, thank you again for having this conversation with me. I've known Patrick almost 6 years, but we never had a lot of in-depth conversations. Only through my job. So this is going to be fucking badass.
Yeah.
Everyone knows you in the DFW comedy scene. Everyone, when you talk about you, you're legendary, bro. You're a goddamn legend. You've worked at the comedy clubs, both off stage and on stage. And this epicness, ladies and gentlemen, you're about to hear is going to blow you away. So, first of all, Patrick, the Hucklebuck Stevens, is that right?
Yeah.
What is the Hucklebuck?
It's in my motorcycle industry, it became a household name because I used it so much. And I actually didn't invent it. Chubby Checker actually invented it. It's a song from the 50s called the Hucklebuck. It turned into a dance. And the Jerky Boys, remember those guys from the 90s, prank calls? They helped give me my tongue and taught me the gift of gab. And I heard them use it one time in a prank call. And I thought it was just a funny, really, truly funny word. And I just started using it in and out of context so much that was the beginning of the sport bike freestyle movement. And at all these competitions and shows, I used it so much that people started calling me Hucklebuck. And then it turned into Uncle Hucklebuck. And
wow, so it's kind of like your catchphresh. You would kind of just say it to people or say it around people, and they're just like, oh, that's Hucklebuck over there.
Yeah. If they wrecked, you just got the Hucklebuck. Or if you're you're banging a girl, you're giving her the Hucklebuck.
Holy shit.
Or do you want the Hucklebuck? It's like the word fuck. You can use it in so many different contexts.
And so not only did your skills in the motocross get out there, but it was tied to this name, so it really did coincide together.
Yeah.
Well, that's what we want to talk about. We want to talk about a couple of different things, and I think they kind of intertwine here and there. But the big thing is you are known for motocross. Is that correct?
It's actually not called motocross.
What is it?
Motocross is when you jump dirt bikes.
Okay.
This is it's a movement that we try to turn into a legit sport where we do freestyle land tricks on sport bikes. I think we've kind of gotten categorized as like flatland BMX, but on ninjas.
Yeah, because they're on actual motorcycles or ninjas, like you said. And you can go check out the videos right now. Go look for Patrick the Hucklebuck Stevens on YouTube and have your fucking mind blown because this is a wild man I'm talking to right now. Because some of the shit that you have done blows my fucking mind. And I'm like, it's dangerous. And I know you're one of the nicest people I've ever met. But then this side of you, I'm like, he's a total adrenaline junkie.
Yeah.
Where did that come from?
Man, I've always been that way. I've never liked to do anything normal. And my brothers and my mom can just tell so many different stories that I've forgotten about me acting up as I'm growing up, trying new shit and doing stuff that looks very dangerous. And, amongst it all, I never really got hurt. Like, my whole sport bike riding career, I've been riding 31 years and doing it professionally for 17. I've only needed a doctor twice.
Wow.
And it wasn't for anything really major. I mean,
I have to say, once again, go watch these videos because knowing that now and then seeing this, the stuff you've done is absolutely insane.
But what's crazy about all that is doing any of it, I've never had one single ounce of fear. But doing comedy, I've been never so scared in my entire life.
Right, and that's the other thing we need to talk about. You are a comedian also.
Well, I try and practicing.
You were one of the first people I ever saw on stage, actually.
Really?
When I went to an open mic night, you were emceeing. I think it was at the beginning of you trying out comedy, but I thought you were funny. You made it was a Whitney Houston joke that I thought was fucking hysterical. And I don't know if you remember the joke, but you dove in hard on that.
I'll never forget that one because it evolved over time, but the first couple times I used it, I actually got booed off of a stage so loud that I couldn't even come back with a comeback over the microphone because people were booing me off the stage. But it gradually evolved into something that was funny that everybody could take.
Right.
With the right.
I think my experience was you were on the boo stage of that because you didn't care, dude. Or at least it looked like you didn't care from my perspective. I was like, that's a brave fucking dude. And then I got on stage after that and I made a joke about drug use or something. You were back in the DJ booth and you fucking cheered me on or something like that. Or it was you or somebody else back there. Because I don't think you do drugs, but at that moment you're just like, that guy's being brave, right on. You know what I mean? It was pretty cool. But yeah, so let's talk about the motocross or the stunt.
Sport bike stunts.
Sport bike stunts.
Sport bike freestyle.
Let's talk about that real quick. As a child, you said you weren't afraid. When did you start getting on bikes and getting out there and actually riding and stuff?
As far back as I can remember, my first memory, you try to think back your first memory of your entire life, and I think I was somewhere between 3 and 5, and I was riding a bicycle, and it was up in Philly. I was born up there. I moved down to Texas when I was 5, so I consider myself a Texan. But I remember riding a bicycle, going back home, and this kid, I had a bicycle and a hockey stick. I was dragging a hockey stick. This kid stopped me, took my hockey stick, broke it over his knee, and threw it down the gutter. That's my first real memory of life.
Wow. So how did you react to that?
I can't remember. I think I just got mad and just pedaled home. And I don't even remember what happened. It's a real vague memory, though, but that's the earliest memory I can ever remember. But I've always rode dirt bikes or bicycles and and then it went to skateboards, and then it went to dirt bikes, and then I started riding sport bikes. So you could say I just kind of like fell into it. No pun.
You totally fell into it. I'm telling you. And that no fear thing, I have to point out, and people see a picture of you, you are a jacked dude. Like, you are in shape. Did that come along as you were doing that, or have you always just kind of been that way? Because when you talk about fearlessness, like, I can't imagine you would put up with much bullying. Did you put up with bullying, or were you kind of always just kind of like, let's do this, let's go?
I remember being the bully, and I remember my body fat's always been low, so it's always looked like I was bigger than I really was. And I started abusing steroids probably 24 years old and never came off for 8 years. And now it appears that I don't have to do anything to keep the same physique, but just a smaller version of it. It's like muscle memory. It's like I changed my body genetically somehow whenever I was abusing for so long. So I used to be so big that I couldn't even button my top button on my shirt. I wouldn't consider myself big now, I guess because I was so huge for so long, and now that I'm a smaller version of myself, I would consider myself a little bit on the skinny side, but I'm cut, so it looks like I'm bigger.
Yeah, you're jacked. You're 100% jacked.
I know I'm 43 now, and every year it seems like the bike gets heavier and heavier and heavier, and I'm like, oh shit, I'm not going to be able to recover this thing much longer.
I know. I'm 35 and I'm feeling it. I recently started taking testosterone, not steroids or anything intense, but it's just high T from GNC, but I've noticed the difference.
I went down to the low T center and got tests done. They put pellets in me.
What's that do?
It's slow release, time release steroids that just bring you to normal. So you don't get any of the bodybuilding muscle effects. It's just to level you out, because an average male is supposed to be at 1,000 on whatever scale, and I was at 230. And so they put these pellets in there that dissolve time release, and then it brings you up to 800 to 1,000.
Well, that's a big thing. That's something you're doing now, you're saying?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a big thing that people don't realize. As you get older, testosterone levels go down.
Mm-hmm.
And that's low libido. That's something that I deal with. That's just, you need a certain level of aggression to really function and get up on a daily basis. And this is why relationships fall apart. People don't realize this.
Yeah.
Even women need a certain level of it.
Estrogen and shit.
Yes. And so whenever you're not getting the chemicals that you used to get, that's why you're not as, I guess, virile as you were when you were in your 20s. You know what I mean? So it is important to do that. So I've talked to people who are just like against it. Like, why would you do that? I was like, well, why would you fucking take vitamins or take an aspirin every day if you feel like you're struggling?
But what's wild is I didn't notice any difference at 200. And since I've had the pellets now for 6 months, I don't notice any difference with the pellet. I don't know any difference. And they said I would. And I wasn't expecting to gain muscle, but I was expecting to feel maybe a little bit taste of the fountain of youth. I don't really feel much different at all.
Well, but you've taken care of yourself. Even though you said you went through the steroids phase, you've always been, like you said, kind of in shape. A lot of people at the age of 43 or even 35, they don't stretch, they don't exercise, they don't do shit to take care of themselves.
Every single one of my friends that I grew up with and from high school, they're all way out of shape, bald-headed, just tired all the time, don't do nothing. Like,
bro, you saw me 3 years ago. You saw where I was at. I was at that point.
You look way more healthy, man. You look way more healthy.
I changed it because once I got out of the relationship, everything was able to change because I was able to focus on myself again. It was wonderful. Yeah. But yes, take care of yourself. I will say that. Let's go back to, when did you start the Stunt FX? And that's what I've kind of always, I'm kind of thinking in my head. You started that. You were at the forefront of that group, correct?
Yeah.
To make that.
Me and 10 guys invented most of the tricks and took it from the street to try to make it legit.
And this was in the late 90s, early 2000s?
This was around 99 to 2002, somewhere around there. And I think there was more people like me trying to do the same thing across America that we didn't know one another. I think we started trying to do this because technology evolved enough on these bikes to allow us to do this. Because they used to be real fat, heavy, underpowered, like hogs.
And what bikes were these specifically? You said so earlier.
Like the Honda Hurricane, the GSXR 750. They were just big, heavy tanks. And then they slowly started shaving weight. They getting faster, more horsepower. Then they started becoming fuel injected. And around 99, 2000 is when everybody thought, oh shit, we can do more on these bikes than what we thought, because they couldn't do that in the past. Remember Evel Knievel jumping those big ass heavy Harleys?
Yeah.
Like everybody today thinks, wow, how the hell did he do it in that big ass heavy Harley? Thing weighed like 800 pounds. The sport bikes weighed that much too. Then they slowly started dropping weight and getting faster. And now my brand new one out there weighs 375 pounds, has 190 rear wheel horsepower. So half its weight in horsepower. It's quite a bit.
Yeah. And so this provided the ability, like you said, to start doing the stunts themselves. And you're already a daredevil. And you've got a couple other guys who are probably in that same mindset.
Yeah.
And you decide, like, hey, watch me, I can do this, watch me, I can do that. And it was kind of showing off. Is that what it was?
Exactly like that. Who could go further on the wheelie? Who could take one foot off, take one hand off? And I got pretty good at doing stuff that nobody had ever seen before here locally. And then one year, my friend said, let's load up and go to Daytona, because they have a bike week there every year. You can go down there and show off down there. I'm like, okay. Because everybody always asks me, why'd you buy a bike for the first time? I think to myself, well, I guess for the same reason everybody does, to show off and to get girls. Yeah. And it's pretty good to do both now, but of course my motives have changed for having sport bikes now. It's more of a passion. But went to Daytona and realized there was more people just like me that were trying to do the same things on these bikes. And we all stayed in touch, and we started putting together sanctioned events, shows, and orchestrating contests. And then it just built up steam and got bigger and bigger. And we tried for about 10 years, from 2001 to 2010, to get it in the X Games, make it legit sport. Got a shot. The bigwigs had us do a demonstration in Anaheim in the parking lot during the 2010 X Games, and no one came out to support it. Yeah.
10 years worth of building something up.
Dead in the water.
And you've got momentum. And you made money off of it during that time too, correct?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then when it came to get the big shot, it just didn't happen.
Yeah, the big wig said, well, there's not a demographic for it. We're not going to be able to make money at it. And they said, we don't want you back. And then the sponsors were like, well, it's an age demographic from 18 to 25. They're always broke. We don't want to put any money into it either. And then the sport bike freestyle movement on the street just kept growing and getting bigger, which is the illegal stunt riding on the street. And that didn't help. I'm one of the biggest contributors as to giving it a bad name, of course. But once I realized you could make money at it, I stopped.
The videos are there. I've seen them. I was just like, I showed a video to somebody. I was like, he's a fucking wow. Look at this shit. Like I said, you're a legend. You're a fucking legend. We literally talk about you at the comedy club because it's like, do you know Patrick Stephen? And people are like, man, motherfucker. He is wild. So 2010 was kind of the breaking point, but you're saying it kind of rose up in the underground scene.
Yeah, the underground scene's never been bigger now.
So I was going to say, what's it look like? Do you think it's time to strike that hammer again, or do you think it's too late?
Oh, no. We've got way too much of a bad reputation now. The media completely vilifies us. They put the knife in the back of the industry. Adults hate us because what we do out there on the street. Kids can't ride them. They're too small. Corporate's out. Sponsors are out. it's pretty much dead in the water. Other countries are trying to build it up, but I see them making the same choices that we did, and it's just going to result in the same thing.
What do you think you would do differently if you had a second shot at it?
Man, it's like saying we want to build up NASCAR, so we're going to take the cars off the streets.
Yeah.
You know, they don't vilify NASCAR. People leaving NASCAR race are doing burnouts and circles and stuff, but I don't know. I guess it's different. Bikes are a luxury, cars are a necessity.
I was thinking, film. Have you ever done any stunt work for films or anything like that?
I've done some commercials and some B films.
And how did that go? What was that experience like?
It was awesome. I wish I could do more. However, the people that get all the big A movie and stunt work for films, you have to live in LA. And that's a real tight-knit community out there doing the stunt industry. You have to pretty much be apprenticed in and do a lot of free work to earn their respect. But once you're in forever, for life. And they use the same guys for all these movies because they trust them and they know they can do it. They can't be messing around with some dude that's new on the street fucking up a $100,000 an hour film, you know. And
that's smart that you said that. That's something I know you know. Politics are important in all this shit. Mm-hmm. It's very important because you did have a successful business. In LA, was it? You were in LA for a time, weren't
you? No. My girlfriend that I met here in Arlington, she was a Vivid contract girl.
That's what it was. Mm-hmm. And so I know that you had 2 jobs. I don't know if it was with Vivid or not. And we got to get into this. Patrick used to be in porn.
Yes.
And everyone always talks about that too. You're a legend because of that. Like, I've never seen it. I've never watched it because I talk to you on a pretty normal basis, so I don't want to see. He's pulling out a DVD right now. I know
Here's the DVD covers.
I don't want to look, Patrick. I gotta have a conversation right now. But yeah, you've been in porn, and didn't you have a stripping service or something like that?
Yes.
What was that business? I know you were successful, definitely at that one. You've told me that. What was that?
I graduated in '96 from high school, and then about 3 years out, I started stripping at La Bear, the male strip club, and I realized, damn, these guys are just working here for pussy. I can get pussy anywhere. I need money. And I noticed they played this mind game like all strippers do, male and female, to get the customers. And I'm like, man, I ain't about that. So I started doing comedy novelty stripograms for a dude. And I was like, this is where it's at. You get paid $150. You do 15 minutes of a comedy skit and do 15 minutes of not even a lap dance, just like prancing around in a circle, you know, and making everybody cheer and laugh. And usually it's mixed companies, like a comedy, cowboy, construction worker, pizza, UPS, fireman, stranded motorist, shit like that. And I was like, this is where it's at. This is great. I can moonlight doing this. I don't have to get a regular job. Well, this guy wanted out, so I bought his company, and then I growed it to be the largest stripogram company in DFW. I did that for 11 years, had six employees, and then the novelty started wearing off after a little while, you know, that all the companies started going out of business. I wasn't making not even close to the amount of money I used to doing it. Wasn't paying for the advertising, and then I was the last company left, and they were all asking me for work, and nobody wanted the stripper to come to their house anymore is what it was.
What do you think that is? What happened with that?
I think nothing lasts forever, and Chippendales started it in the 80s. It used to be huge, and then in the 90s it was big. In the early 2000s it just started getting smaller and smaller, and you know, people didn't want strippers in their home anymore. They'd rather go out to the strip club. So the novelty just faded away, and it just quit.
Wow.
But that I did that for 11 years.
11 years, though.
And I didn't have to get a regular job, and I can say that I'm one of the very few that stripped and used that money to fund my goals and my dreams and my career, and then got out. I didn't get, you know, sucked up with all the drugs and the lifestyle and the customers and stuff, you know.
Yeah.
Usually you see strippers, females at the strip clubs say, I'm working my way through college. I'm like, you know, you're not.
Yeah, you're partying and you're taking, you're coking in the back and whatever else you want. And that's the thing, is having a healthy separation of the two. Because like you said, you can get women on your own. You don't need to worry about that shit. I've seen you with beautiful women. Like, you walked in, I'm like, holy fuck, what's Patrick? Whatever. I've seen, but I've also known that for the most part, as far as I know, you're not a drug user. No one's ever said that about you either. I know that you party, though.
Yeah.
But I've never even seen you drink. Do you drink, even?
I grew up drinking in Alvarado. I grew up in the trailer park 17 years, and in a small town called Alvarado. And I just drank every weekend because that's what I thought I was supposed to do. Everybody was drinking. I was supposed to drink. And then in my early 20s, I used to go out 3 times a night to nightclubs and have a $150, $200 bar tab. Yeah. And then I never smoked weed because my mom told me I was allergic to it when I was 15. She had the doctor come out and tell me I was allergic to it. I believed her. It worked, Mom. So I didn't smoke. Everybody's like, you want to smoke? Oh, no, I'm allergic to it. Well, I had a girlfriend when I was like about 24. She was an avid smoker, and we got to talking. We're thinking, how the hell can I be allergic to weed? I'm like, I'm in this small room with you. I'm getting contact high, and nothing's happening to me. Look, give me that blunt. And I started smoking, and I loved it. Yeah. It was great. I never drank ever again. I was like, I can go out and have just as much fun. No $100 bar tab, no hangover. I'm smoking.
And you're in your own fucking space. You're on your own head, and it's just one of those things. And like I told you, I get paranoid when I smoke. But for 5 years, I was that person also, and I loved it. The mixing of the two was never good.
Yeah.
Let's go back to the DVDs. What was the porn career like? How did you get into that? You said you had a girlfriend who was contracted with Vivid Entertainment, which was huge in the early 2000s. Vivid's where it was at.
Yeah.
And so just by osmosis of being in that relationship, you got into it?
She was real big. She was like one of the top 10 contract girls, Sunrise Adams, in the industry back when contract girls were a thing. Now it's just a numbers game. They want new faces. So contract girls are kind of fading away. And she was really big into it and got in a relationship with a dude. Of course, that he was that dude at the strip club. Oh, I love you. And then you get in a relationship. Well, you got to stop stripping now that I have emotions for you.
Right.
One of those dummies.
Pure jealousy.
So he made her get out of the industry. And she only worked like 15 times a year and was making $100,000 a year. They would pay her like $15,000-$20,000 for 3 days of work.
What?
Yeah. That's what contract girls do.
Damn.
They only work maybe every quarter. And he made her quit, and then they broke up. So she left LA and moved to Arlington, Texas, of all places. And this is back when the MySpace days were big. I met her on MySpace.
Right. MySpace was very good to all of us.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, it was.
Yes. I wish that we could go back to the MySpace
I am
days.
with you 100% because I had
a lot more simple place.
Yes. And people actually would talk to you, and you would get, I'm not lying, MySpace got me laid. I fucking love MySpace.
Yes.
The new shit, not so much, but MySpace did. It worked.
Oh, they got a stigma nowadays. They won't even respond. Even if they like you, they won't respond to it because there's some sort of stigma attached to meeting people on Facebook.
Oh, yeah. All of it's fucking weird now. But so you got a hold of her through MySpace. Mm-hmm. Well, you just a friend through a friend, or you just were adding friends, and the next thing you know, you're like, she's hot.
Oh, yeah.
I want to talk to her.
Hot, sent her a message, met her for dinner, and then we're inseparable from then on. And we were together for about a year and a half. And she was working doing something, I can't remember what she was doing, but she was miserable. I think it was mortgage loan stuff. She was miserable doing it, and I thought, why don't you just get back into the porn business? And she did. And when she did, I reaped the fringe benefits, my friend. So I didn't have to work my way up from the bottom. She brought me in right at the top, $600 per pop shot.
No shit. So you got in and you got to work with her within the films then? So did you work with other actresses too, or just with her?
Yeah.
So you don't have that jealousy, I'm taking it.
No, but I remember when I did.
Now, I just became polyamorous. Everyone who listens to this podcast channel knows that about me. And one of the biggest things for me is the hurdle of jealousy. How did you get over that? You said you used to be a jealous type. Mm-hmm. What was the thing that kind of pulled you out of that?
I've thought about this in retrospect many times, and I can't think of one single thing that made me change my mindset about it. But I used to remember in my early 20s canceling trips with the boys because I was so jealous. I didn't want to leave my girlfriend at home because I thought she might do something. She might go fool around or talk to other guys or cheat. I was canceling trips, good times with friends that were going camping for the weekend or whatever, just because I was too insecure to leave.
Right.
Isn't that fucked up?
Dude, you just put in words how I feel about it too. People put their life on hold on a possibility, and you take your happiness and you allow your evil thoughts to control your happiness. And that's the thing I like about polyamory is you upfront, number one, say you're selfish, and you're going to be selfish, and this life is going to be about you, but that doesn't mean you can't have relationships. Secondly, you admit that you're a whore. That's what I like to call it. I mean, the book's called The Ethical Slut, but I call myself a whore. And you go forward with that. It's fucking wonderful. And it says, I can talk to all these people, and I can fuck whoever I want.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, you get into relationships with other people who are polyamorous, and, they might be with you Tuesday, and they're with you on a Thursday.
Yeah,
and you're just like, fuck it. Who cares? Because the jealousy aspect, it still exists. Doesn't mean you can't have emotions. But accepting cheating as not cheating up front and accepting that people are sexual, it changes you. And it's just it's fucking fine. You can still have these relationships. So what was that kind of you realizing that you needed to put yourself first and stop worrying about these bitches over here? Is that what it was?
I kept thinking I do remember thinking this, and I don't know if this was the main contributing factor, but I kept thinking, if I'm in a relationship with this girl, if she's going to cheat, she's going to cheat whether I'm around or not. She's just going to do it behind my back while I'm in town. And I need to stop worrying about this stuff. Over the years, I've had to separate sex and emotions. And if you're going to be a swinger, you have to do that. But if I have emotions for somebody, I won't swing with them unless I trust them 100%, not 99, 100. And trust doesn't mean you don't think they're going to be attracted to somebody else and get turned on by somebody else. Trust means that there's no lies, there's no secrets. Be vulnerable and share all, no matter how bad. Brutally honest, you know.
Right. Communication's key, and that's when communication breaks down. So you are a swinger then. So is that what you identify as, or you just have been in the past?
I have been in the past, and I would be if the other person was excited about it. I don't want to turn somebody on to being a swinger because I've been down that road before. But if they're already interested in it and doing it, I'll join in. But I'm not trying to turn my next girlfriend into a swinger.
Right, because that's like having sex with a virgin. That's a lot of fucking work.
It is. It
and
sure
you have
is.
To
and it could ruin a good thing if you're not careful.
But I always say this: definitely research any of those lifestyles, because you never know what might fit you, and you never know what you might get into. And especially, like you said, reaping the fringe benefits of that relationship by dating Sunrise Adams. You were able to get into the industry and make some money. And then have a lot of fucking fun.
Oh, yeah.
How long did you do that?
I was with her for almost 2 years, and we did it about every 3 months, the videos. But we went to a lot of extracurricular parties and went to all the Vivid girls. I got to bang all the Vivid girls besides Tara Patrick and what was the other girl's name? Jenna Jameson. And there was a lot of good times, a lot of good parties, a lot of connections that we met. What's that place? Inequity was a swingers joint there in Dallas. I think they call it something else now, Colette or something like that. Have you ever been over there?
Nope.
Unfortunately, there's some hot chicks in the swinging lifestyle. The dude's usually like a bomb. The girl's usually hot, but there's very few single swinger chicks in the industry. So sometimes somebody got to jump on the grenade.
Did you jump on a grenade once or twice?
No.
You never took a chance?
I've been spoiled. I've been real spoiled. And the last true swinger relationship I ever been in was 2010. I've only had 3 girlfriends since 2010, and none of them were interested in it, so I didn't do it.
Right. So you can kind of turn that off. You say that can be part of my life. It's something I'm interested in.
Yeah.
But it doesn't have to be the be-all, end-all.
Mm-hmm. And not a lot of people believe that I can do that.
Oh, dude, I do. Because here's what it is. You separate sex and emotions, like you said. So sex is one thing, but you care about somebody and they don't want to do that. Mm-hmm. You accept that and you go, okay, that's not what we're going to do.
Yeah. And just as long as that person that you're with fulfills your every need and makes you happy, then you don't feel the need to go out and spread your seed everywhere else.
Exactly.
And it is fun. And the reason how it's so easy for me to do it is because I've had that lifestyle for so long. I got all my what ifs out of the way. The dude that you don't need to trust is the dude that has never done it, that is still thinking in the back of his head, man, what if? You know, that's the guy that they shouldn't trust. Is the guy? Me, I've already done it. But it's the opposite. The girls nowadays think that since I've lived that lifestyle, I'll always want it.
Well, the experience too scares people. And when you're open about it, because you're a very open person, and like I said, you're a legend, everyone knows these things. Like, they know you're a wild man for the bikes. They know about the comedy. They know about your antics at the comedy club, which we're about to get into. And they know about the porn. So it's experience, I was going to say. So whenever, I'm sure it's both exciting and people are terrified by it at the same time. But it's a fucking life well lived, good sir.
Yes, sir.
That's why I'm sitting there going like, I gotta talk to Patrick. It's so fucking cool. Hey everyone, it's just Duck jumping in here real quick to say thank you so much for checking out the podcast today. If you're enjoying it, head on over to your favorite podcast app, Spotify, Stitcher, Podbean, or iTunes, and give We Are Podcast a like. And don't forget to check out our social media. All links can be found in the description. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter at /We Are Podcast. And with that, back to the podcast. Let's talk about comedy. You said that through the stripping service, there was comedy involved with it. Were you interested in trying stand-up at that time?
No, it never crossed my mind.
At what point did it come to, like, your realization that that's something you want to do, was get on stage and try to entertain?
I noticed that I've always had a passion in my life, and my first passion was skateboards. And then once I got into motorcycle riding, it was definitely motorcycle riding. I poured my whole heart and soul into this sport, and it kind of failed me. It's 2 factory dealerships a month go out of business now, and it's not looking too good. Luckily, I've revived it with the wheelie lessons. And I was thinking, damn, what kind of life would this be without a passion to pursue every single day? And people ask all the time is, why comedy? I'm like, well, I don't know why. I just thought, you know what, let me get in front of a microphone in front of a group of people, because everybody already thinks they're funny, and they already think they have it figured out. And boy, everybody has a rude awakening that first time they get up on stage, because being funny on stage is way different than being funny just with a group of friends or a crowd of people you're standing next to,
Yeah, I feel like it's a completely different skill set.
Completely different.
It is, and it's a learned skill set. And what you just said, going from skateboards to motorcycles to, everything else in between, you had to learn it, but you weren't afraid to get up and try it. And
right.
You're fearless. You said earlier that comedy was the one thing that scared you. Were you even scared about doing the porn? Probably not.
No.
Nope. But getting in front of a group of people, it was the first time you felt anxiety.
Yes. What
was that like?
Well, I've always boasted that I can hump with the president watching.
Yes.
And I've never had a problem with that. And I think that it just, I was always doing it growing up with my friends and tag teaming and different girls in the room. So I didn't even have to think about it to do it. And then with the stunts, everyone says, you do dangerous stunts, you take chances. I'm like, I promise you, every single stunt that I do, every move I make on that sport bike, 170 on the highways, 3 nights a week still, using all 4 lanes, cutting cars.
I think you passed me a couple times.
Yeah, probably.
I'm just like, what the fuck was that?
Yeah. It's never a dangerous choice, ever. It's always a very well analytical, calculated decision that I've done a million times that I know will work.
And I believe the muscle memory thing is definitely true, because you did a video blog for a while. I don't know if you're still doing it or not, but you would be talking out your thoughts while riding down the road like a madman. But you never stop. You just be like, all right, here we go. And then you keep talking. They're fucking hysterical.
Yeah.
But you go on these rants. But it is literally like the bike and your thoughts are separate. Like, It is like you have total control.
I got scared with the whole motovlogging thing. I had to stop. I got too scared.
Because you thought they might catch you?
Yep, because it's real time. It's like as opposed to the videos that I would shoot, I would film all year and then post at the end.
Well, let's go back. So first time going on stage, did you prepare before that, or were you just going to get up and wing it?
I prepared as much as I thought I needed to.
So you weren't prepared at all. You got on stage, you were like, bomb. It's weird. 3 minutes on stage feels like a fucking eternity with that room. And the hardest thing is an open mic night, because everyone there thinks they're funnier than you.
Yeah.
And they're judging you 10,000 times harder than a crowd might actually judge you. So you get up to try to work material, and it doesn't work. It's very nerve-wracking. How did it feel the first time?
The first time, I didn't feel it while I was up there because I was completely oblivious to the audience. I was just thinking too much of what I was going to say and how I was going to say it. I didn't realize how bad it was until later on the drive home. And then the second time I went up, even worse. The third time, even worse. And then for a year and a half, I would have complete fear for at least a year and a half doing open mics 3 nights a week, profusely sweating, turning red. And then it slowly started mellowing out, and then it started becoming fun. But it took about a year and a half of torture.
A year and a half?
Yep, 3 nights a week.
And anxiety before and anxiety afterwards?
Anxiety before and during, less after, but...
That's so weird, because like you said, you could fuck in front of the president, but getting in front of a group of people you don't know, or maybe kind of know, was like the one thing. And what do you think that was? Why do you think that you had that fear?
Whenever I did the stunts and whenever I did the swinging and the porn, I didn't ever think about it. I think I lived more ignorance is bliss. But doing comedy, you have to be self-aware. And you can't, there's no more ignorance is bliss. You'll never make it. And then that self-aware, once you become aware, you can't ever go back. And I think I just started thinking too much into it. And
so for a year and a half, every night you were kind of becoming introspective about yourself and having to deal with, like, who am I as a person?
Yeah.
And what do I stand for? And what do I want to express?
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy, because that's very powerful, because what you're saying is maybe at that point in your life, you didn't know who you were as a person because you were go, go, go. And then you had to step back and kind of figure it out.
Yep, because the first couple of times I heard that I was selfish or controlling, I thought they were just the most idiot. You guys are crazy. I can't believe you would say that about me. And now I realize that those are my two greatest, worst flaws, is selfishness and control trait. And that's what ruined every single one of my relationships in the past from 2010 and prior. And it ruined the only girl that I really truly could see me spending the rest of my life with. So I need that failure and that loss in order to act right for the ones in the future.
Oh, that's so smart. And it's true, because through failure, you learn. And by putting yourself out there and being vulnerable, which on a stage, I mean, you're basically naked in front of the crowd. You're not, but you are. And if you don't, they can rip you apart. You know, a heckler says something. If you're not prepared and you don't know who you are as a person, how are you going to deal with that situation? Yep. After a year and a half, you said it started getting better. At this point in comedy, you MC and feature or just MC?
Just MC and open.
Open. So what is that experience like to get that first good 8 to 10 to 16 minute set?
Man, it's indescribable, the feeling you get when you can make a room full of strangers laugh for 15 minutes. It's indescribable. It's an awesome, addicting, great feeling. And it took me about 3 years to get a good 15 minutes. You know,
it's a lot of trial and error.
Wow, yeah. Man, and people still are shocked when they hear that when the veterans come through and they're doing Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday at the Improv, that these guys are doing the exact same set, down to the breath, down to the pause, down to the words. They don't mix up one single word, and they do that 2 nights a week, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and one on Sunday.
Right.
And people think, because they are so good at making it seem natural, that they think every show's different, but it's not.
No, that's a big thing in comedy. If you don't know this, you know, Jerry Seinfeld was known for years of not allowing cameras in or camcorders in because it was like the 80s, early 90s. He did the same set for something like 10 years. And before he filmed a special and he had to kill it. And then he did the same thing over and over again. That's the thing, is people work on this material on a consistent basis until, like you said, they get it down to a science. Muscle memory, like you were talking about earlier. That's what you were used to. That's kind of what you had to learn with this again. And then you can go into it and it becomes kind of a dance. Comedy to me is kind of like a ballet because they practice for years and years and years to do something beautiful that looks simple that is very hard. And so when you got your first 15, what do you think you got right now of material? 15, 20, more than that?
15 of good stuff. I can go longer, but it starts...
Oh, everyone has that problem. Like a lot of comedians, they fall apart at 40 minutes. Like that's the show right there. And then they start trying new shit and you're just like, what the fuck? All right, try it out. But that's trial and error. So when you get on stage and that, you know, they announce you, whatever room you're in, and you go up there, as an MC, how do you get the crowd to like you? What is the first step to do that? And we're kind of going into, because I want to ask questions about this because I'm interested.
Yeah.
How do you get the crowd on your side?
Well, a comedy mentor that has brought me on the road with him is Steve Hurst. I love that guy, man.
Yeah, he's funny, dude.
50% of the time, he gets a standing ovation. It's wow,
yes.
God, I can't even imagine what the standing ovation feels like. But he's the one that told me that you have to be likable in 15 seconds, or else if they don't like you, all the rest of your jokes that are funny, they're not going to laugh. So hit them with the best 3 that you got right out the bat. Make yourself likable. So I did that. I hit them with the best 3 real quick, and I can usually tell the tone and the way the rest of the show is going to go by those 3 jokes.
And do you move around that based upon that? Do you play the specific parts of the room based upon that? Are you able to bring the crowd in, or do you try to keep them as distant as possible?
Well, I made a mistake of not looking the people in the eye. And some comics do that and get away with it. Steve does it. But I realize that I can't look and sound natural unless I get human emotion back. So it took me about a year or so to start looking people in the eye. And then now I'll look one person in the eye until they start laughing. And then I'll go down the row and look at the other person in the eye until they start laughing.
Oh, wow. So you're making a personal connection.
Yeah, I had to, because it sounded too rehearsed and unnatural, me looking off at the curtains. But everyone else, it looked like I was looking at them. But I was looking at the curtains actually behind them, right above their head, because I didn't want their reaction to change the tone of what I was going to say. But it took me a long time to figure out that's quite the contrary. I have to have that emotion.
You have to have that connection, and you have to see that this shit's working Wow, that's powerful because that's a huge fear. You know, Mitch Hedberg, one of the greatest comedians of all time, he never looked at the audience.
Never.
He wore sunglasses and closed his eyes as he told jokes because he was afraid of them.
Yeah.
You know, and then you have other comedians who can get up there and do a half hour worth of fucking room work. D.L. Hughley is a huge example
Ian
of that.
Bagg, huh?
Oh, yeah, dude. That's what I'm saying.
Brilliant.
They can get up there, and some of it's rehearsed and some of it they use over and over again to fuck with people. But even to open up and to have a quick conversation and to have material to go to is insane. And crowd work is one of the best things in comedy because it makes it seem
guaranteed like fresh.
Yes,
they don't think you could prepare that.
Oh yeah, dude, it's so good. But that comes back to it. A lot of it is prepared. Yep. People don't realize that it's rehearsed and it's happening over and over and over again. Mm-hmm. Where do you want to go with your comedy career at this point?
Well, it's hard to have a regular job and do comedy full time. Because the open mics start at 5, and usually people don't get off till 5. And if you're not on the list, they usually don't put you on the list and usually can't get up.
And especially right now.
Yeah? Oh, really?
Yeah. It's next to impossible.
Yeah.
So what are you thinking, though?
You have to be on call. Openers don't ever get to plan anything. You have to be on call last minute, and you have to do all 3 or 4 days. You can't just do what the ones that are convenient for you. And if you miss one, you're going to be blacklisted. You're never going to get a call back if you say you're going to do it and you don't show up. So I was a starving artist for 5 years and waiting tables and you know, doing odds and end jobs here. And it was rough. I was barely getting by, and I got the opportunity to start doing garage doors, and man, it is so profitable. But I had to put the comedy on hold. But what it made me realize is they say comedy comes from pain. And I think Mark Twain said, "There's no laughter in heaven." and everybody's saying, "Draw from the pain, draw from the pain." I'm thinking, I've never had any pain in my past. Everything I did worked.
Yeah.
I lived an awesome life. I lived in a trailer park for 17 years. My mom made us feel like we were rich. And then I started doing the stunt shows and motorcycle stuff, and everything I touched worked. I never came from any hardship, I don't feel like. So I think whenever I tell my stories now on stage, it kind of sounds like I'm bragging, you know, and people don't want to see that this dude up there that's in shape bragging about the life he lived, looking like he's about to fuck my girlfriend.
Yeah.
So it's been real hard for me to tell my stories. And I think this break is going to be good because maybe when I go back to it, I'll talk more about it in retrospect, and I'll have a lot more gray hair, and I'll get away with more.
Well, on top of that, too, you're a very positive person. That's one of the best things about you. You don't really have negativity. Like, I tell stories about you, and I'm just like, this dude's fucking crazy. But it's never, like, you've never been malicious, you know, we've never had an argument. Every time I talk to you, it's an awesome conversation. You're an awesome person. And it sounds like to me like you're motivational to people. Like, people should try to strive to be more like you and say, all right, this didn't work out. We're going to fucking try the next thing. And this thing didn't work out. We're going to try the next thing. Negativity breeds negativity.
Yeah, misery loves company.
Yeah, man. Positivity is where it's at. And I know it's hard to get from here to there, but if you stay busy, and I think that's the key, you've always stayed busy.
Really, I have.
Yeah, and that's, people need to get on that because they can make a million excuses. Just try.
Yeah.
Get out there and try. Walk in the right fucking direction and see what happens. That's why I live every day like that. And treat your passion like a fucking job, too.
Yeah.
How much work did you put into something you didn't get paid for?
I did a lot of free stunt shows in order to build up the name to get booked. Same with comedy. You have to do a lot of free comedy shows in order to make a name for yourself and get the experience and make the connections.
And on top of that, you worked at the comedy club, too, for a while. You know, there's stories about you. I can cut it off if you want me to, but grazing off plates because you've never gotten sick. Dude, people still laugh about that shit.
They got my corner. They got my corner saved.
Dude, middle. All right, in the Arlington Club, it's middle left, and everyone still calls it Patrick's Corner, and no one even fucking knows you but me and your niece. That is it, and everyone still calls it that.
Oh my god,
that's hysterical.
I always said, whenever I make it big and famous in the comedy world, you guys are gonna hang my jersey above this section over here.
Dude. Throw a plaque up there, dude. That'd be badass. That might have been
eating off people's plates.
Oh well, yeah, but that's what I'm saying. You've never gotten sick. How many times you gotten sick?
I've only been sick 3 times in 2 decades.
That's
and
insane.
It's just like a flu or something like that. And up at the Improv, I would eat off people's plates all day, every night. And
you were a starving artist, like you said.
Yeah. And everybody knew if there was a hunk of meat left on you know the fish or the steak, to leave it over there on my corner in the silverware area. What's it called?
The dish pit or whatever.
Yeah, the dish pit. They knew to leave it over there. I saw a little hunk of meat food over there. I know it was for me.
protein, though, bro. Get it. That's what I'm saying.
These people ain't gonna spit in their food when they're leaving. They're not expecting somebody to come over and eat steak off their plate. You know, they're gonna take real good care of it, eat what they want, and leave the rest.
Dude, you should talk about that in your comedy. I don't know if you are, but that's just fucking amazing because it's unique, and like I said, it makes you legendary. Like you say Patrick Stevens, and if people know who you are, they immediately know, and if they don't, we tell them. And so the legend continues, man.
It's patrickstevens.com. It's my website.
Website's patrickstevens.com.
With a PH, not a V.
Okay, and then I will link all this below, but also Instagram. Where else are you on?
Well, all my social media is on my homepage of my website.
Okay.
And you can get to my website by going wheelielessons.com or patrickstevens.com.
And that's what we want to talk about, the wheelie lessons. Something that has become your new business.
Yes,
and it is kicking up like crazy.
Super popular.
So what is it? What exactly is it? Is just that, and you're taking in, clientele and teaching them how to do wheelies on expensive bikes, correct?
It's all about this trolley that we built to protect the rider from falling. It attaches to any motorcycle. It's in the shape of a cross. And it's like got wings with wheels on both ends and a long wheel in the back. And you can attach it to any motorcycle safely. And the motorcycle won't flip left, right, or back. So you can learn the most important technique of a wheelie is dragging the brake and having enough gas on so that you slow down and you're not chasing out the end of the RPMs. So I gave lessons for so long without it, and I didn't have a very good success rate. Now that I've got this trolley, 80% of my students get this slow, controlled wheelie down in the first 3 hours.
Wow.
Male, female, older, young. I'm doing between 15 and 20 lessons per month, $300 a pop for 3 hours.
Right. And
it's been awesome.
And the protection aspect of it, like you said, maybe that's what was missing because it is a scary thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't you say that you still have DVDs out there that people can buy and stuff like that, or are you no longer producing those?
I used to make one per year, and that was half my income. But then when file sharing became invented, all that came to an end overnight. And I've tried to reinvent myself on YouTube several times since then, twice to be exact, and I've always sadly disappointed. All this work I put into it, don't get any clicks, no views, and then the Catch Me Outside girl goes viral. Right. It seems like society doesn't want talent anymore. They want brainless, dead, dumb drama bullshit.
On the wheelie lessons, do you have any plans for what's next after that? Or are you just always thinking maybe we'll try this and then we'll go to the next thing?
No. I'm not thinking about what's next at all. I'm enjoying what I'm doing now. I love this garage door business because I go in, I do my time, unbelievable money and great freedom. I don't have a boss. I just get dispatched calls all day. I get to meet new people and we talk for an hour in their garage while I'm repairing their doors and installing their opener. And I get to try my material out. I still write. A long time ago, I started doing spoken word and slam poetry, and that helped unveil my emotional side on stage where it wasn't there at all. Which, you veil your emotional side, you get a better connection, you get away with more. I still write, I still spit, I still take voice notes and practice. And I think when I come back to it, I think it's going to be way better. It's going to be way easier. I think I'm going to have a lot more wisdom involved and I'll be able to get my jokes out better.
Right, and the gray hair too, like you said, and people would respect it. Because there is something to having the age and the wisdom. People will listen to you and respect the things that you need to say.
Exactly.
Real quick, last thing. Anyone who's looking to get into comedy, what do you suggest the biggest thing that they do before they get on that stage the first time?
The most important thing is just to get up there once. You have to get up there and get over that fear, because the biggest fear, and you talk yourself out of it so much, I hear it so often, is getting up for the first time. I think everybody follows pretty much the same structure. They pre-script every single thing they want to say and write it out, and they usually had to show up with 7, 8 by 10s of nothing but writings. I'm like, you're going to bring that on stage? You're trying to memorize that? I did it. And you have to go through those steps. And then over the years, you'll think it and you'll have all of that, but you'll only have bullet points. You'll evolve into bullet points to remind you of what you were going to say, because I was trying to think of too much of what I was trying to say and how I was going to say it. I ruined the delivery. But I think everybody starts out that way, and you can't skip steps. You have to go through the trial and error. It's just getting up there and repetition. Repetition is the key, and it's a whole different lifestyle change. You can't do it part-time and think you're gonna do anything and get through it.
And I think that's very important with everything that you go through in life. Put in the fucking work. Mm-hmm. People are afraid of the work. Like, you have these big dreams, but you can't even take a step in the right direction. Put in the work. Don't be afraid. Ask people their opinions. That's why we're here now talking. I'm asking you, hey, how do I do it? How does this person do it? And that's with everything. And be fearless and be bold. And people are so afraid. But now, like, in the time of Corona, when you come out of it, you have a chance to do the shit that you've always wanted to do. So fucking go do it, you know?
The thing that helped me the most is videotaping every single open mic. And then when I got home, watching and critiquing myself, because I always had a different perspective of how I did on stage when I got off, as opposed to when I got home and then watched the footage. Always a completely different perspective of how it really went down.
And did that, you think, help break down the ego over time?
Yes. You get a clear picture of how you really did and not how your ego said you did. Because it will be different for a long time.
Yeah, I have a lot of comedians that I've talked to where they say, that was a terrible set. And I'm like, no, it went pretty good. It was great. And they're like, no, it was terrible. You're your own worst enemy in that. But it's an art form, and you want to do your best every time you get up there. I mean, is there anything else that you want to add to this?
You're a good guy, great friend, awesome speaker, and
Bro.
It went so smooth and effortlessly. I think it felt like we've been on here for 20 minutes. Time goes by fast when you're having a good time.
Oh, dude, this was a great conversation. I hope you'll come back on the podcast sometime.
Definitely.
We'll find more cool shit to talk about. Other than that, check out the social media stuff. We're going to link that in the description. You need to get out there. You need to add Patrick on everything, and you need to watch him because I think amazing things are happening. All over again. You're going to repeat and be successful, dude. So, thank you again for being here.
Hell yeah.
Last question. Are you sober?
Yes.
There you go. First one.
The first person on your show?
Yeah. Well, other than my friend Ben. But he doesn't count.
Remember, I told you I got to work on bikes after this.
Yeah, I know. And there it is. Thank you so much, Patrick, for sitting down with me and having this awesome conversation. I hope you've all enjoyed it today. And if you have, please head on over to your favorite podcast app, Spotify, Stitcher, Podbean, iTunes, and give We Are Podcast a like. And if you like this podcast, you're going to love the other ones here on the We Are Podcast Network. We have We Are Error. That's where me, Jake, and Hobbs, we talk movies, entertainment, and whatever the fuck we want to talk about. Also, We Are Bagu, a video game podcast with me and Dr. Ethan Eastwood, where we're talking Atari to Steam and everything in between. And don't forget Heroes, Gyros, a Dungeons and Distractions side quest. Me and the boys were playing some D&D. We're having so much fun. Go to the very beginning of that and check out our journey thus far. Don't forget to check out our social media. All links can be found in the description. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter at /We Are Podcast. And if you've enjoyed the podcast today, share. Share with your friends. That's how we grow this network. I really do appreciate you checking it out today. But I have one more question for you. Are you sober? Are you? We'll see you next time.